When he was over 90, Wodehouse could still vividly recall a childhood spent shuttled between his gaggle of aunts and uncles. Many of the latter were clergymen, and the young Plum would join them on visits to the local gentry.
There always came a time when the hostess would say, "Don't you think it'd be nice if your little nephew had tea in the servants' hall?" And then I go off to the servants' hall, and they're full of sprightly footmen and vivacious parlourmaids, and I loved it. I got on awfully well with them. And butter for lunch, which rather shook me to my foundations, but it wasn't bad. When I got used to it, I liked it.
In over 70 years, as a published novelist, beginning when he was just 20, this professionalism, unfussy, unrelenting, dominated Wodehouse's life.
I tell you what I love. I love revising. Getting the first stuff down is always hard. But once it's down, you can see what's wrong with it. You can see that one page ought to be 5 pages earlier and that sort of thing.
Wodehouse had always wanted to pay his way as a writer. In 1914, aged 32, he'd taken on the additional responsibilities of a family man when he married Ethel Wayman. I was writing a short story where Bertie, he was called Reggie Pepper in those days, he and his friend got into a absolute fix, and it's impossible that either of them could find the solution to it. And it suddenly occurred to me, why shouldn't Reggie Pepper, have a valet who was omniscient? Wodehouse chronicled the misadventures of the hapless Bertie Wooster and his rescue by the unflappable, infallible Jeeves for 60 years, and the characters remain the most familiar route into the author's world of comic fantasy. Well, there's no great...
2 short stories in the first day. One for $300 and the other for $200, which of course was wealth.
So I think that was the...
I used to write by hand, very laboriously, in a room with about 50 people playing ping pong and singing and so on. I managed to get it done. I know I made an arse myself and had to pay for it, but oh no, I don't feel any resentment whatever.
Feeling understandably unable to return to England, Wodehouse and Ethel settled in Long Island, outside New York City, in the 1950s. Here, surrounded by books, he settled into the predictable lifestyle he enjoyed, including the exercise regimen, his daily dozen, which he followed without fail for over 50 years.
Of course, when I started writing, sex was absolutely taboo. You couldn't even hint at it. But and I suppose one got set in one's way.
I don't know, I find it very altered. I suppose I would. After 34, how long is it? 30 years, isn't it? Long time. I think it's a sort of graceful act on the part of the government. Sort of more or less saying, well, that's that, you know.